Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving deep into the absolute beast that is the multi-million-dollar creator economy. Specifically, we're going to unpack exactly how digital attention is captured, monetized, and maintained. I mean, we live in a world where billions of options are literally just one click away, right? So we're going to break down the mechanics of the viewer's journey, from that very first split-second glance all the way to the final subscribe button. And we're using the raw data and the actual strategies behind the world's most successful channels to do it. Because honestly, this isn't just about making content. It's really about the raw psychology of capturing human focus.
So is your intro secretly killing your views? It's a pretty bold, provocative question, but it's absolutely the most important one you can ask yourself in the digital space. Why? Because if your content isn't grabbing people immediately, well, the rest of your hard work kind of doesn't matter. You could literally have the best material in the world, the craziest production value, the most brilliant script, but if your front door is locked, nobody is coming inside. The stakes are just insanely high right from frame one.
5 seconds. That is the exact amount of time you have to grab a viewer's attention before they click away and absolutely tank your audience retention graph. Seriously, if you peek into any major channel's back-end analytics, you'll see it clear as day. There is this massive cliff dive right at the very beginning if those first 5 seconds are slow or boring or even just vague. In the attention economy, hesitation is your absolute worst enemy. It's a ruthless little window of opportunity, and you either hook them right there or you lose them forever. No second chances.
Part 1. The creator economy.
To really get why those first 5 seconds are so cutthroat, we kind of need to zoom out and look at the macro context. We are unpacking the mechanics of a totally new media landscape here. It's driven by independent creators who have completely bypassed the traditional gatekeepers of television and film. And this brings us to this idea of the micro-celebrity. By definition, a micro-celebrity is a self-governed, independent creator. But their actual superpower? It's their perceived authenticity. Because they're speaking directly to the camera, often just sitting in their bedrooms or a home studio, they foster this incredibly direct, bottom-up connection with us, the viewers. It genuinely feels like a friend talking to you. In fact, this exact authenticity is why recent studies show that YouTube personalities are actually considered far more influential to US teens than mainstream traditional celebrities. They've traded that high-gloss Hollywood vibe for genuine direct access.
Okay, let's dive into this timeline for a second, because it's wild. Back in the early days, like 2006, the platform was mostly just hobbyists sharing grainy homemade clips. But that same year, the first participatory ad actually ran for the show Prison Break. This was a massive shift. Then, by 2007, the Partner Program launched, which suddenly allowed creators to actually make a real living by sharing ad revenue. Fast forward to 2010, and the top earner was making about $257,000. That's a very respectable income. But jump to 2021, and the top earner, Mr. Beast, pulled in an estimated $51 million. So yeah, this evolved incredibly fast from a hobbyist playground into a highly lucrative professional and intensely competitive industry.
Part 2. Winning the click. Now, before you can even think about monetizing your channel or building that authentic relationship, you have to actually win the click. And that entire battle takes place on a tiny canvas of just 1280 by 720 pixels, the thumbnail. Get this, 90% of top-performing videos use custom thumbnails. But it's not just about slapping a pretty picture on there. It's actually deeply tied to typography. Your font choice inherently communicates your channel's emotional tone way before a single word is even spoken. Think about it. If you're in the gaming or action space, you want heavy, urgent fonts like Biba's Noe or Obelix Pro, which is famously used by MrBeast. For lifestyle channels, you want the modern, clean geometry of something like Montserrat to signal that aesthetic polish. And for loud entertainment, fonts like Impact or Bangers set a super meme-friendly, highly energetic tone. Your font is quite literally your first impression.
And here's something absolutely crucial. You have to distinguish between your thumbnail fonts and your subtitle fonts. Thumbnails need bold, distinct display fonts. We're talking a minimum size of 75 pixels to just stop the scroll dead in its tracks. But subtitles? They need to be clean, unobtrusive, and highly readable at very small sizes on a phone screen. Fonts like Roboto, Lotto, or Open Sans are perfect for this. Using an aggressive, loud thumbnail font like Impact for your in-video subtitles is honestly a terrible mistake. It pulls attention away from your actual content, it feels like it's constantly screaming at the viewer, and it rapidly creates visual fatigue. The goal with subtitles is friction-free reading while the content plays, which is completely the opposite of the thumbnail's goal of interrupting your pattern.
Part 3. The 5-second hook. So, let's say you've designed the perfect thumbnail, you've nailed your font, and boom, you've won the click. Now we're moving down the funnel to the exact moment the content actually starts playing. The perfect hook relies entirely on psychological triggers, and this brilliantly illustrates how it's done. You can start with a shocking, bold statement that makes the viewer instinctively want to know how to fix a mistake or learn a secret. You can ask a provocative question that makes them feel personally involved in whatever the outcome is. You can show a dramatic visual before and after that promises this immediate, satisfying solution. Or you can just create pure urgency, telling them time is running out. These tactics trigger intense curiosity and a serious fear of missing out instantly, basically locking their attention right into your narrative.
Conversely, though, we need to talk about what actively kills retention. Please, do not use a long logo animation. Never start by slowly saying, "Hello, this is my channel." Avoid those overly long, rambling explanations, and whatever you do, absolutely do not ask them to subscribe before you've actually provided genuine value. The data here is staggering. Seriously, even massive channels with over 2 million subscribers have been shown to lose 35% of their audience in the first 5 seconds just because they insisted on playing an empty 1-minute logo animation. It's a fatal error. It immediately signals to the viewer that their time is being wasted and they are gone.
Part 4. Crafting the perfect intro. So if we're cutting out those long logos and the slow, boring hellos, what do we actually replace them with? Well, you need highly effective, fast-paced intro formats that sustain momentum. Think video montages cut perfectly to a high-energy beat that sets the tone instantly. Fast-paced slideshows with bold colors keep the eye constantly stimulated. Animated visuals can showcase your brand's personality beautifully without even needing a camera. Or kinetic typography, which is basically moving text that dynamically captures attention. Or perhaps the bravest choice of all, skipping the intro entirely and just jumping straight into the high-stakes action. All of these formats act as functional hooks. They basically answer the viewer's unspoken question, "Why should I care?" within seconds.
But, technical formats and moving text aren't quite enough to carry the entire weight of the introduction. You have to combine those fast-paced visual hooks with high-energy vocal delivery. You need to talk quickly, clearly, and enthusiastically. Use your hands, vary your pitch, and project confidence. Why? Because human psychology dictates that our brains naturally equate physical and vocal energy with excitement and importance. If you sound bored, your viewer will instinctively feel bored, no matter how amazing your kinetic typography looks or how incredibly clever your script might be. That energy transfers directly through the screen.
Part 5. Lessons from real creators.
Now, let's zoom back out for a second and look at the actual human reality of the creator grind. We've looked at the analytics and the big massive earners, but what does it really look like down in the trenches? Well, let's pull some peer-to-peer wisdom directly from the r/NewTubers community. One creator pointed out that taking a break from their regularly scheduled uploads actively hurt their channel's performance. So the crucial point is this: algorithms rely heavily on predictable behavior to serve content to the right audiences. They heavily reward consistency. Even when a creator is just completely burned out, maintaining that steady upload schedule is often the only way to keep the algorithmic momentum alive. It's tough out there.
And here's another incredibly valuable but pretty tough lesson shared by a different creator. They tried to artificially boost their growth by paying for promotions. But guess what? They watched their views and subscribers absolutely plummet the exact moment that promotional money dried up. As this explainer highlights, there are just simply no sustainable shortcuts in the attention economy. Genuine, long-term success requires the grueling, unglamorous hard work of delivering consistently good content and building an organic, engaged community over a long period of time. Artificial bumps, they almost never translate into loyal audiences.
And finally, this last observation brilliantly ties the whole thing together. This creator realized that getting a massive spike in views means absolutely nothing for your subscriber growth if you don't stick to a consistent topic. This connects perfectly back to our earlier point about picking a specific font for your niche, right? If you're an intense gaming channel on Tuesday and then a super relaxed lifestyle cooking channel on Thursday, viewers aren't going to know what they're actually subscribing to, so they just won't subscribe at all. Focused topic consistency is everything when you're trying to turn a passing 5-second view into a long-term loyal community member.
All right, so we've covered the macro economy, the science of thumbnails, the psychology behind the perfect hook, and that relentless consistency you need to survive. So I want to leave you with a challenge. The next time you're scrolling through your feed and you click away from a piece of content, just pause for a second. Ask yourself, exactly which 5-second mistake did they make? Was it a massive dragging logo, a monotone boring voice, or maybe a totally misleading thumbnail? Analyzing your own digital consumption habits is absolutely the fastest way to truly master the attention economy yourself. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.